Hi, it's your coach Joe Lucas. Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to the 18th of October. Hey, hope you're having a great week. What I want to spend some time on today is talking about how to make changes, how to make behavioral changes, changes in outcomes, so on and so forth. A couple things real quick. I think a lot of us, and again, my space is exclusively financial advisors, is that there's a lot of what we call high alpha driven people, right? Which is a great thing. The reality is that your ego has served you pretty well because it's almost like armor, right, against rejection and against a lot of other things. However, we tend to overcommit to things. We tend to, if you will, almost think through things that they'll be easy, right? Because we think they're going to be. And so what I want to spend some time, over the next couple of minutes is giving you some sound strategies and what I have worked on, not just personally myself, but also with, thousands of clients over the last 25 years, is how to get from point A to point B, okay? So let's talk about the science of incremental change, okay? Which for a lot of you, drivers out there, right? Like, man, I don't want to do anything incremental. Like, I want to go in there and make that happen, right? The problem with that is it lasts for about 48 hours, then your head explodes and you're back to square one, right? And that's why for some of you, and I say this as respectfully as I can, you have been in startup mode your entire career. It's always about waiting to next year. I'll get organized next year. Next year will be my year, right? And you're 20, 30 years into this thing, and guess what? You're still telling yourself the same thing. Maybe it's time to alter our approach. This is a great time of year, by the way, to start really thinking through that. I know we're still in the fourth quarter here, but you do not want to go into 2018 with this concept of, I'm going to be this totally different person come January 1st and stuff like that. This is the time to start grooving some new habits, some new behaviors. This is the time you want to make some changes so that you go into 2018 with momentum, with the right concept. All right, so give you some cases in point. So typically, I'm a real big believer in introductions. I believe that you want to get me started, which we're not going to do here, is talk to me about why every financial advisor in, I don't care where, the entire world, is not exclusively referral and introduction driven. Now, maybe not the first couple of years, right? Because you're out there, you got to develop a book business, clientele, so that's fine. But once you're there, and there could be maybe 100 households, maybe 75 households, maybe 150 households, it's going to vary, but somewhere in that range, right? If you've got that number of households, and you're still trying to figure out what to do for new business, how to get new people, what is wrong, right? And because here's the intellectual disconnect. And I've done this. I've gone when I've spoken in front of groups, right, and I've done my thing. One of the questions I'll often ask if I have time is basically this: how many of you would agree with this statement? Getting a referral / introduction means the same thing, by the way, from a happy client is one of the, if not the best way for me to continue to grow my business, right? How many would disagree with that statement? Now, there's always a couple of weirdos out there that think, cold calling or centers of influence, but if you really boil it down, intellectually, right, this is the best way to do it, right? 98 out of 100 advisors in the room will agree with that statement. You'll probably agree with that statement. So let me ask you the follow-up question now. If intellectually you agree with that, then how much time, energy, effort, budget, focus, intentionality do you put towards that? If you agree it's the best thing to do. Now you know what drives me crazy, right? And so we're all bright people, right? So how do you then justify what you just did? This is the best way, but yet I don't do anything around it, right? Or I'm half-assing it if possible, right? Here's why. Because to really drive a lot of introductions and referrals, and we don't need to get into numbers today, it requires you to change your behavior. It requires you to change habits. It requires you to shift focus, right? Hence the problem. Because referral gathering and introduction gathering is behavioral based. It is not about the cool letter that, the magical letter that if you send out, people will just give you names. It's not about that. It's about being absolutely consistent in bringing it up in reviews and sending out, you can send a letter or an email out, monthly or quarterly. It's totally cool, right? But you have to do it, right? Again, behavior, right? So here's what happens. So I'll talk to a new client and we'll go over this. I'll say, look, tell me how many clients you have, right? What's going on? And then I'll see they'll have 100, 200, 300 households. I say, great. Well, tell me what you guys do for referrals and introductions. What's your strategies, right? Just tell me what you're currently doing. And there's always this kind of very pregnant pause on the other line, or I see it on the video, and there's like nothing, right? And so I say, okay, well, look, how many clients do you talk to in a given day? So between, calls in, calls out, reviews, most people in this industry are going to talk to between 10 and 15 clients a day, in and out, typical day. That's sort of what I found. I said, well, hey, how many times out of that 15 do you really think you could commit to talking about introductions, talking about referrals, just bringing it up? Hey, keep us in mind. Don't keep us a secret. Something very soft. I'm not going to beat anybody up here, right? How many times? And it's interesting. Pretty much everybody across the board will go 5 to 10, right? And this is where this is where this personality trait comes in. Like, I'm going to go get this thing, right? And you probably said that to yourself for 20 years. So what my answer is every time? How about this? Why don't we start with one? Why don't you just pick the client that they just love you to death, and just let's groove that. And for the next 2 weeks, let's just do it once a day. Let's not go 5-10. Let's not try to run a marathon when we're basically learning to walk, right? But this is what a lot of you do. You get into this mindset that, okay, I'm just going to go attack this thing, and it doesn't work. You know why? It's too uncomfortable. It's too much of a change in your situation. You start incrementally. Case in point, everybody would agree that regular exercise, right, is good. And I'll say in this business, regular exercise is not only good for your body, it's good for your bank account. The more energy you have, the better off you're going to be, right? And so I'll talk to somebody, and I'll say, well, tell me, and it's one of the questions I ask you, tell me about your fitness, tell me about your health, tell me what you do for yourself, right? And, I always hear I got the gym membership, but I never go. And I say, well, what do you think you need to do? And they'll say, well, I think if I can work out an hour a day, I think that'd be great. And I said, okay, fine. How long have you been telling yourself that? And, again, another pregnant pause, right? Years, months, decades, right? And I said, look, man, here's the problem. You're trying to, again, go from learning to walk to marathon running in one swoop. It's not going to work. So guess what I do? Here's what I want you to do starting tomorrow. I want you to go to the gym. And I literally just want you to, and look, if you want to take the Wall Street Journal, which I don't want you to read, but if this makes you happy, fine. I want you to literally just walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes. I don't even need you to get in. You can walk in your suit. I don't care, right? Just go for 5 minutes. And it's like so ridiculous, right? And people that do that, by the way, 5 minutes, their brain goes, oh, that's ridiculous. And they end up doing 15, 20 anyway, or maybe more. But you've got to break it down to very small common denominators. And that's what most people don't do, especially in this business. Because again, if you've been in this industry any length of time, there's a certain wiring you have, there's a certain ego drive that you have, which I said serves you for the most part. However, here's kind of the unintended consequences of this. We overbelieve or overthink what we can accomplish by force of will. And that's why it doesn't happen for you. So what I want you to do, really for the next couple of months, until let's say the new year at minimum, I want you to think about, hey, what are the habits that, if I can groove between now and the end of the year, man, they would really, really serve me well in 2018. And let's start grooving those habits today. Let's start now. Let's start, as you're listening to me or watching me here, let's just start. What's the worst case scenario? You get some short-term wins. Oh my God, you start talking about introductions, and you may get some before the end of the year. We don't have to wait to 2018 to get some momentum. I mean, is that the worst case scenario? You lose 5 or 10 pounds between now and Christmas. Is that so bad? Right? But put your ego aside and do things that in your mind you go, that is so ridiculously easy, it's a no-brainer. Then prove that to yourself. I'm off to Los Angeles for the next couple of days, so I'll try to get you something out. If not, I will see you all next week. Have a great one.